Jerry Jeudy had an all-time great performance on Monday Night Football, but should you be valuing him as a top 30 receiver? We'll debate on this episode of the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Here are your hosts, Marcus Mosher and Kate Madjuk.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Kate Madjuk. You can follow her on Twitter at Kate Madjuk. On today's show, we are breaking down one of the wildest games of the season, Kate, Broncos and Browns. I want to start with Jerry Jeudy, the former Broncos receiver who had 9 catches for 235 yards and a touchdown. It was the most yards that a former or a player going up against his former team has ever had in a single game. This isn't, obviously this was a massive game for Jeudy, but he's been doing this for a while now, Kate. How should we value him in our dynasty leagues?
I don't know. So I think there's no doubt that Jerry Jeudy has been more productive this season. Now, has it always been a smooth ride? No, but it does feel like since the team traded away Amari Cooper that he is embracing that wide receiver 1 role, right? Like over the past 5 weeks, hasn't had a single game with fewer than 70 yards. Has had 2 games of 100 plus receiving yards. Now, coincidentally, those happen to be with Jameis Winston under center. So we also have to take that into account because, that a lot of that early play, it's kind of hard to suss out what's what. Like, I don't know. I do think there is an element of the revenge game that rings really true for Jerry Jeudy specifically. Sometimes we kind of like say like, ooh, players facing their former team, it's a revenge game. I feel like Jerry Jeudy took that narrative to like 1,000, and I feel like he was super motivated in this one. I don't know. I don't know if I'm fully bought into it because of how long we've waited to see this breakout happen. Like, is Jerry Jeudy a product of motivation? If so, how long will he stay motivated in Cleveland? What's the quarterback situation going to look like moving forward? Because he's not going to have Jameis Winston presumably throwing him.
Are we sure?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think I don't know if you guys were listening to the broadcast last night, but Troy Aikman was pretty adamant. Like, first of all, why did you start Deshaun Watson to begin the year, and how can you go back to him after watching Jameis? And he didn't even necessarily say that Jameis needs to be the quarterback next year, but it can't be Deshaun, is what Aikman was kind of getting at. And I think,
to be fair, that's not like original analysis.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
But to hear an NFL analyst,
correct,
say it live on the air, pretty big indictment.
Yeah, and it's a Hall of Fame quarterback that's saying it as well. Yeah. I think that's probably what's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis comes back for another year, ends up being like a bridge starter till 2026, and they cut Watson, they trade Watson. We've talked about all the different scenarios that could happen on this podcast. But since he's been playing with Winston, Kate, over the last 5 games, he's averaging 123 receiving yards per game. He has gone over 70 receiving yards in every single game that he's played under Jameis. He's posting wide receiver 1 numbers. And one of the things that I keep coming back to is it wasn't that long ago that most of the most well-respected draft analysts out there, pick your names, whether it's Dane Brugler, Mel Kiper, Matt Miller, Todd McShay, they all had Jerry Jeudy in the same caliber as prospect as Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. And in fact, most of those draft analysts all ranked Jerry Jeudy ahead of those guys as prospects, right? So we're not that far removed from Jerry Jeudy being considered like an elite wide receiver prospect. It's taken some time for him to find the right system and the right team. Again, I'm not valuing him like a top 10 receiver, but like a top 30. Yeah, I kind of think I'm in.
Top 30 seems very fair. And I mean, again, going back to the prospect, this is a guy who broke out. I mean, had a true demonstrative breakout as a true sophomore at Alabama. 1,300 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns as a true sophomore is pretty incredible. And we know that young breakouts do highly correlate to NFL success.
And by the way, he was playing with Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Henry Ruggs all at the same time, and he was breaking out. Like, he was the best receiver by far on that team. I do want to point out, it's not like he did nothing when Deshaun was on the team. He had 2 games this year with at least 70 receiving yards with Watson. It's just that playing with Winston has unlocked him. He's only 25. And Kate, one more thing before I stop here. I think one of the reasons why the Browns made the trade shipping Amari Cooper off to Buffalo is that they wanted Jeudy to step up and be the number 1 receiver. This is the same exact scenario that played out with the Dallas Cowboys and CeeDee Lamb, right? They wanted CeeDee to become the number 1 receiver, so they traded away Amari Cooper to kind of allow CeeDee to become that player. And I think you're seeing a little bit of
Amari
that now.
Cooper.
I know.
Why is his departure always the thing that unlocks these, budding stars? I don't know.
Well,
no,
he's a really good player, but I think a lot of times you just want these younger guys to take a hold of that role. That's all.
Totally fair. And Jerry Jeudy's under contract here for what I think the next 3 years.
Yeah, just signed an extension. Yep.
Yeah, and so I think there's maybe some safety there. I think my biggest point of hesitancy is just hitching my wagon to any player within the Cleveland Browns organization right now. Just given the
let me ask you this, Kate.
Yeah,
you look at what Cleveland did last year without Deshaun Watson, right? Flacco was putting up huge numbers, and now Winston's putting up huge numbers. Maybe the situation in Cleveland is safer than we think, as long as Watson's just not the quarterback.
Do you trust that the Browns will make the right decision, though?
I think it got a lot easier now that he's suffering. It sounds bad, but I think it's got easier now that he's got a long-term injury. I think the Browns are going to be able to cut ties a little cleaner now.
That might be true. And also, it's kind of like a fool me once situation. They've now been fooled twice, right? Like, another quarterback comes in, suddenly we're seeing the offense click and the football is being moved and things don't look so hard. So it wasn't just the Joe Flacco miracle run. It, I think might just actually be, this is a solid offensive system with, some decent weapons in the receiving game that just haven't been able to find consistency at quarterback. And hopefully this Jameis Winston production, obviously not perfect. I mean, Jameis Winston threw 6 touchdowns, right? Just 2 of them happened to go to the wrong team. He's still going to be Jameis Winston. But
so can I ask you this, Kayla? I want to just kind of get a feel of where we're ranking him. So Jerry Jeudy is currently in November being drafted as wide receiver 57. Okay. Obviously that's going to move up after the November that he's had and the December he's had. I look at somebody like Tank Dell, who is the exact same age as Jerry Jeudy. Both of these receivers are 25 years old.
What?
Yeah. Would you rather have Tank Dell or Jerry Jeudy?
I think I'm going to roll Tank Dell, but it's way closer than I would have thought.
Deebo Samuel or Jerry Jeudy?
I guess Jerry Jeudy.
Okay. Brandon Ayuk, who is a year older than Jerry Jeudy, coming off a major knee injury.
I guess if I need production now, Jerry Jeudy.
Let me give you another. How about Jalen Waddle? who is, again, a year older than Jerry Jeudy.
How low is Jalen Waddle being valued right now?
Wide receiver 23.
Marcus, this is probably the most difficult I've ever had a time evaluating a player's dynasty value.
I think we'll learn a lot over the next couple of weeks.
Usually, even if I can't come up with like a great, montage of stats to back up, a ranking for a player in dynasty, you just go with the little gutsy, right? the little gut. I got a big gut after Thanksgiving. You would think I'd be able to trust it for like telling me some Jerry Jeudy rumblings, but no, gut is dead silent on this one. So I need to do some serious pondering. I think we've posed both sides of the coin for Jerry Jeudy here. I want to say I'm leaning more toward your sentiment of upside.
Yeah. Well, look, here's where I'm at. I think if this happens again next week, I believe the Browns play the Steelers in Pittsburgh next week. Mm-hmm. If he can have another one of these games, not a 235-yard game, but like another game of 70-plus receiving yards on 5 or 6 catches, I think I'm going to be completely in, because now we've got a good catalog of him producing. So, again, you don't want to overvalue one game, but I think if you can put up another one of these type of performances, I'm in. Okay, we've got to talk about the Broncos side of the things, because the Broncos did win this game, and there were a couple standouts in this game, including our guy Marvin Mims. Not wrong, just a little bit early. Let's talk about Marvin Mims' breakout performance next. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best way to get real sports action on most states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. It's also the only real money daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It is guaranteed. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use promo code LOCKEDONNFL. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We are breaking down the action from Monday Night Football, Browns and Broncos. Okay, let's talk about Marvin Mims, who was somebody that you and I really liked coming out of, what draft was that? The 2023 draft, I believe. Marvin Mims in this one, 3 catches for 105 yards and a touchdown, including a 93-yard touchdown up the seam. Marvin Mims has not put up huge numbers this year, but over the last couple games, starting to become more involved in the offense. Are you buying into him as kind of a long shot dart throw?
Let's be clear. I love Marvin Mims. Still a little bit concerned about just the lack of volume in general. I mean, with whatever volume he does get, it's been looking great, right? But let me read you the number of routes he has run, starting with last night and working our way back. 16, 11, 10, 7, 16, 13, 10, 16. 16 routes run is the most routes that he has run in any game this season. That freaks me out a little bit because I know he's explosive. I know if he gets the ball in his hands, he's a threat for a touchdown any given minute. He's so explosive. He's fast. He's not just fast, he's quick, right? Like, I love Marvin Mims as a prospect. He's got a perfect athletic profile. I think he's got all the skills. I think he's got the track record of the collegiate production that, like, I feel confident in translating. But, like, when are we going to see some volume? Because I don't trust it right now.
Yeah, that's the issue. See, if he's just not on the field all that often, you have a hard time ever considering starting him. But on the flip side, if he keeps making big plays like this, he scored a touchdown in 2 of the last 3 weeks. He is creating more big plays. You look at the last 3 games, Kate, a 93-yard reception, a 37-yard reception, a 37-yard reception. It does feel like he could potentially earn more snaps moving forward. It's just, when will that happen? Obviously, Courtland Sutton is the number 1 receiver here. Troy Franklin is a part of this offense. Vele is a really productive 7th-round pick, and I think you and I both expect them to go out and get another receiver, whether it's in free agency or the draft next year. I'm probably not buying right now, but I'm still intrigued by Marvin Mims because, man, he's got a lot of potential.
I will never not be intrigued by Marvin Mims, but like, let me take you back to his rookie season, right? Week two. And this was a moment where Marcus, he had 2 catches, caught both of his targets, 113 receiving yards and a score. And I feel like we had to have been celebrating the next day on the Locked On Dynasty Football podcast because we were big fans of Marvin Mims coming out of OU. But he followed that up with just 11 routes run, still posted 73 receiving yards, yada, yada. But then he faded into the ether. So, like, I think my biggest concern, like, I think when he's on the field, he's going to be able to earn targets. And, like, let's be honest, for the fact that, you know, he's playing such few snaps, you know, getting 8 targets on 27 total snaps, that's pretty good. So, like, you know, that's encouraging. When he's on the field, he's being targeted, but you can't score points. You can't be targeted if you're not even running routes on the field.
No.
I'm tempering expectations for now.
I'm with you. Let's talk about the backfield really quickly. The most annoying backfield in the history of backfields. Jaleel McLaughlin got 14 carries for 84 yards. He was the clear workhorse back in this game. Javonte Williams, 4 carries for 1 yard, including 1 touchdown. Not a great day for him, but he continues to get goal line work. Michael Burton got a goal line touchdown, and then Audric Estime, 3 carries for 12 yards. What do we do with this Denver Broncos backfield?
Is nothing the correct answer? Like,
yes. This is what happened with the Saints with Sean Payton. It's like they would have Mark Ingram, Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas. They drafted Reggie Bush, and there are a lot of weeks that you just didn't feel comfortable starting any of those guys.
Yeah, I think this is a circumstance where, like, if you have one of them, you play in case of emergency. Like, we've got 4 teams on bye 6 teams on bye in week 14. You might be forced to throw one of these guys in your lineup, and it's a dart throw as to which one of these guys is going to be the guy on any given week. Obviously, Jaleel McLaughlin and, you know, Javonte Williams going to be at the front of that conversation, but I still think Audric Estime is probably, like, you know, the best long-term option in that backfield. Like, Jaleel McLaughlin, really good complementary back, but I don't think he's necessarily a grinder. I don't think he's going to be the guy that you want to run up the middle, run right up the gut for, you know, 10 times a game, right? Like, he's going to be the guy that you want to bounce to the outside, maybe get some screen throws, like, see what he can do after the catch. He's smaller, more explosive, but, like, Audric Estime is the guy that I think is going to be the long-term option in between the tackles. So, like, from a long-term bet, that's still where I'm putting my money. There's no secret. I loved Audric Estime coming out of Notre Dame, but I do think, like, the answer is, like, right now, if you are in a circumstance rest of season with these guys, like, you don't start any of them until unless you really are in a position where you have to do that.
Yeah, it's just going to be annoying. I think Javonte Williams is a free agent after this year. He's obviously not going to be back. Maybe this is just Jaleel McLaughlin and Audric Estime in 2025, and it gets a little easier to decipher week to week. But I think for the remainder of this year, Kate, like, you can't trust any of these guys.
No.
All right, let's do some waiver wire pickups because we are inching closer to the fantasy football playoffs, and there is one target this week that you have to go out and get. We'll discuss that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets in the NFL, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And week 14 is a great week to start betting on the NFL. We've got some awesome games this week, including the Packers and the Lions on Thursday Night Football. What an awesome matchup. Go to FanDuel.com and never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the new Locked On NFL show. 2 shows every single day. 1 in the morning with Tyler Rowland, 1 in the afternoon with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk, available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Kate, let's talk about Isaac Guerendo, because we did a show yesterday, and we knew that Christian McCaffrey was going to be out for the season with a PCL injury. What we didn't know is that Jordan Mason suffered a high ankle injury, and now he's going to be out for the remainder of the fantasy football season. Is Isaac Guerendo somebody that we can trust over the next 4 weeks?
I think you have to. I think you have to trust Isaac Guerendo, first of all, because, I mean, the running back position, it's so few and far between the circumstances where we are able to be gifted an RB1 in week 14 of the fantasy football season out of absolutely nowhere. Yeah. In terms of like his long-term value, questions, I'm sure, but in terms of like a potential league winner, let's talk about Isaac Guerendo, like the player, because I want to point out, Marcus, back, I don't know, what was this, March, April?
Yeah.
We were having a show that like which players did the most to improve their overall view coming out of the NFL Combine. Isaac Guerendo was my pick. We weren't sure if it was going to matter because we were like, is he even going to be drafted? I don't know. But he was, 4th round pick by a pretty good team with Kyle Shanahan, who knows how to run an offense. He's a little on the older side. He's 24 years old. So like coming out of college, he wasn't like a spring chicken in comparison to his classmates. But what does he offer? He's 6'1", 200 and something pounds. I think 220 pounds. He's a big boy. He is a big boy. But what makes him so special is the fact that he's got breakaway speed at that size, like true 4.3 speed that is really hard to take down in an open backfield. Now, are the running lanes, is the backfield going to be as wide open as it was for Christian McCaffrey at times this year? No, because they're down so many weapons all over the field. But in terms of like volume, we know that Kyle Shanahan will feed his lead back. And to be quite frank, they're just running out of other options. So like in Guerendo, I trust.
Yeah, they're going to have to. And with Deebo Samuel not playing that well this year, with Brock Purdy having a shoulder issue going on right now, like, yeah, they're going to have to run the crap out of Guerendo. This is actually the 3rd running back they've lost for this year, because it's Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, and now Jordan Mason. Like, they kind of have no other option here. I think Guerendo, if you're in a league where you have a fab budget, I think you have to use your entire budget on him. I can't imagine another player becoming available over the next, couple of weeks. I don't know about you, Kate, but my league start the playoffs in week 15, right? So 15, 16, 17. This is the time that you want to go out and spend the money on a player that can actually help you now, rather than waiting for maybe somebody in week 16 or 17 to help you. I'm perfectly fine spending whatever you have to go out and get him.
100% of your fab on Guerendo. Now, let's say Guerendo is already taken. I do want to shout out one other potential waiver wire ad here that might be icky, might not be icky, but I think is an intriguing one nonetheless. Jaguars receiver Parker Washington had a big day in week 13, 103 receiving yards, a touchdown. Probably going to be playing with Mac Jones here after Trevor Lawrence took this terrible hit. Again, we kind of know the backups. They get time with the backups. And now there's plenty of target availability. Gabe Davis out for the year. Christian Kirk out for the year. I think Parker Washington might actually end up being a thing rest of season. So like double check your waiver wires for Parker Washington and like just see what's out there. Cause I do think there's something not as fluky as it would seem there.
Yep. Last one for me, Kate, is Aiden O'Connell. If you're in a 2-quarterback league, their remaining schedule is Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Jacksonville, New Orleans. Like you could throw on all 4 of those defenses. And if you just need somebody that's going to be out there that's going to put up big yardage, I think Aiden O'Connell can do that after throwing for 340 yards against the Chiefs in week 13. I think Aiden O'Connell is a good low-end QB2 as we inch closer and closer to the fantasy football playoffs. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty Football your first listen every single day. Check out the channel on YouTube. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Kate on Twitter at Kate Majuk. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. On Wednesday's show, it's a Matt Williamson day, so he'll be here answering your Twitter questions. So make sure you send them into us and check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We will see you right back here tomorrow.